today we're going to talk about possession and use of alcoholic beverages and illegal drugs, hazing, sexual assault and harassment, fire and other life safety issues, traveling with a registered student organization, behavior at organization events, and doing a risk management policy. So, hazing prevention. Hazing is defined as any intentional, knowing, or reckless act occurring on or off campus of an educational institution by one person alone or acting with others, directed against a student that endangers the mental or physical health or safety of a student for the purpose of pledging, being initiated into, affiliating with, holding office in, or maintaining membership in any organization whose members are or include students at an educational institution. But what about consent? The Texas law says consent is not a defense. That's the law. So even if you say, I was okay with it, that doesn't count. University policy says the fact that a person consented to or acquiesced in a hazing activity is not a defense in prosecution for hazing. Myths and facts about hazing. Myth, hazing is only a problem for sororities and fraternities. Fact, hazing is a societal problem. Hazing incidents occur among all different types of organizations. Myth, eliminating hazing makes an organization just like any other social club. It'll be too easy to become a member. Fact, any group can haze new members. That's an easy way out. It takes vision and commitment to run a good non-hazing program. Myth, a little hazing should be okay as long as there's no mean-spirited or injurious intent. Regardless of the intent, hazing is still wrong. Don't do it. You have a reporting obligation. If you know of hazing, you have to report it to the Office of Dean of Students online. You can do a complaint or by phone if you believe you've been a subject of hazing or if you know of hazing activities. As a consequence, there'll be individual discipline, organizational discipline, criminal and civil liability, so everyone involved can get in trouble with it.
Oh, okay. So, drug possession and abuse. So basically, facts about drug use at UT. There's a lot of drugs in Austin and on the campus. Apparently, a third of you have done illegal drugs in the past year, but most of you will do some kind by the time you die. So
or graduate.
Yeah, or graduate. So it's really important to be able to pick out warning signs, to be able to help out each other. Make sure everybody's safe, but don't do drugs at all if possible. So things like making promises and breaking them, lying about your whereabouts, behaving differently around friends, avoiding social functions where there's no drugs. These are all red flags, and if possible, talk to your friends if you notice any of these. Drugs can affect everything about your life, your college, your school, family, friends, peers, if you're an athlete. Like, I'm an athlete, you're screwed if you do drugs, so stay away from them. And if you notice any of these, please take action. You can talk with a professional. There's lots of resources available from UT. You can report concerns, in confidentiality or anonymously, or you can conduct an intervention personally. It's really important to make sure that everybody stays safe, so please do what you can.
All right, so alcohol. The objectives of this section on alcohol use and abuse include reviewing the common problems associated with alcohol use and abuse and the best ways to avoid related hazards. Additionally, this section is going to briefly outline the legal and civil risks involved with alcohol services, along with efforts of our organization to effectively manage legal and civil risks. Okay, so alcohol overdose is potentially a critical medical situation. If you find someone passed out but can't wake them, or they're semi-conscious and incoherent, there may be a medical emergency if an individual is found vomiting without awakening, has shallow, irregular breaths, cold, clammy, pale, or bluish skin, or they experience seizures, convulsions, or rigid spasms. Okay, so the university policy clearly prohibits underage drinking and other violations consistent with the state law. Students subject to discipline, whether whether the drinking takes place on or off campus, and regardless of what the law is for that particular case. Ignorance of the policy does not protect you from disciplinary action, so I would encourage all of you guys to be familiar with the policies to avoid problems. So, the university policy on alcohol medical emergency call for help. This is a free service for all of you guys. This helps you if you are in a situation that involves underage drinking. Safety first. So always seek medical help first. So this is intended to encourage you guys to seek medical help. Okay. State law issues. So underage drinking is excessive drinking, public intoxication, etc. are all against the law. Don't do it. Don't drink and drive. Like, you guys are smart, just don't do it. And it says find the least drunk person for designated driving. I don't know why that's on here. Don't do that. Just don't drive drunk. Don't do it. Sleep on their couch. Yeah. Plan ahead, call people, don't do it. What you do. Okay. So, here are ways to protect yourself from getting involved with the law. So, check IDs, don't serve alcohol to minors, have food and non-alcoholic drinks available, avoid drinking games, make sure you have safe rides home, or don't leave if you're at like a house, and be smart. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, we're going to talk about sexual assault. So this is very important. The definition of sexual assault is when a sexual act is directed against another person, when that person has not consented, is incapable of consenting, or when the act is forced. So there's different things about what consent is and isn't. Consent is always active. The absence of no does not mean yes. And a person can't consent if they're put in a position where they feel that harm will come to them if they don't consent, if they feel coerced into the act. So keep that in mind. And predatory drugs are a problem that is involved with sexual assault. So these drugs include GHB, ketamine, all this stuff. So don't leave your drink unattended. I know you've heard this a million times, but don't do it. So how can we lessen our organization's risk? This is relevant for any organization, so have someone monitoring a group drink at all times, because these predatory drugs are not just for your individual cup, they can be slipped into the punch bowl. So be vigilant, see what's going on around you, and report suspicious or questionable acts. Go with friends, don't go places by yourself. If you go with a friend, make sure you see where they are, make sure that you guys leave together, go home together, so you know where they are and what they're doing. Okay. I can do it. Okay, sexual harassment and misconduct.
Alright, sexual harassment and misconduct. Sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination that involves the imposition of an unwanted condition or requirement on the continued employment or education of the victim. So there's two forms of sexual harassment: quid pro quo harassment and hostile environment harassment. Sexual misconduct is a conduct of a sexual nature that, although is not so serious or pervasive that it rises to the level of sexual harassment, it's still unprofessional and inappropriate for the education and working environment. Sexual harassment can occur anywhere on or off campus. It's not confined to a particular location. The number of incidents at a location reflect the amount of time that you spend there. So a lot of students are in dorms, so it happens more often there. 12% were not sure where they were harassed. But it can be in dorms, outside, in campus buildings, anywhere. So if you believe that you have been a subject of sexual discrimination sexual harassment, sexual misconduct by a member of the faculty or staff of UT, or by a student, or by a visitor, or a contractor, or anybody on campus, you can talk to Dr. LaToya Hill or Miss Catherine Green, and they have their information available. Fire and life safety.
So, how to respond to a crisis at your event. So if all of a sudden event there's a crisis, the number one thing you should do is call for help. You should also stay calm. Be prepared to give as much information as possible to 911 and the responding emergency personnel, and contact the Office of the Dean of Students as soon as possible to get assistance with how to address media if necessary and see what resources they can offer. Here's the phone number. Crime prevention. Use the blue light call boxes on campus if you need assistance. Y'all know what those are? Those things you press when you feel like somebody's following you. Use the buddy system and walk in well-lit areas. Use the UT Police Department to provide security for on-campus events. Keep your valuables out of sight in your car, and don't forget to lock your door, so hide things under seats and in your trunk. Take a RAD program class. That stands for Rape Aggression Defense, and it's also awesome. Sign up for Campus Watch. Contact UPD to borrow their engraver to engrave your belongings. So,
There's a RAD class actually this weekend if you want to sign up.
Cool.
There's one
Yeah.
this weekend.
And visit UTPD website there. Oops, how did it go back? If you see it, report it. If there's a slippery floor, let somebody know. Water leaks, broken glass, strange odors, chemistry, weird stuff happens. Lights out, broken doors or locks, emergency equipment missing or not working, a person who doesn't belong in a particular area. Once again, creepers, let somebody know. Weapons. It is a violation of Section 11804 of the Institutional Rules on Student Services and Activities to possess, use, or display firearms, facsimile firearms, ammunition, explosives, or other weapons on property owned or controlled by the university without written permission from the Dean of Students, including university residence halls. Both students and registered student organizations who wish to bring a weapon, or that word I can't pronounce, weapon, onto the UT campus must have advance permission from the Office of the Dean of Students, and that's where you can get permission to bring your weapons to your events.
This is registered student organization travel. These are the university travel policies. There's the SSO travel policy, which applies to all travel to domestic destinations more than 25 miles away from campus. It involves a sponsored student organization or enrolled students attending events or activities that are organized and or sponsored by the university. And the RSO travel policy, which applies to all travel to domestic destinations more than 25 miles away from campus, which a registered student organization requires a student member to attend the activity or event. So these are the international policies. All UT students, including sponsored and registered student organizations, must comply with university travel policies for international destinations. It does not matter whether the travel is required for a member or what the purpose is for your organization's international travel. And you can contact this number to talk about this policy. And this is sponsored student organization travel again. For domestic and international, the paperwork you have to complete. You have to obtain pre-approval from UT administrator or sponsoring department. For international, you do the same. And for general emergency procedures, if you're involved in an accident, stop immediately and call 911 or the local police. Assess the situation and render aid as appropriate. Fill out a police report, obtain the names and addresses of all witnesses, contact your advisor. I'd probably do the police first, but I guess you can call your advisor too. And you can contact the Office of Dean of Students to add these numbers.
Alright guys, we're almost done. So now we're going to talk about how our organization should act at parties and other events. So when you're planning an event, make sure you have event monitors to handle emergency, designated drivers, there's going to be alcohol, emergency management plan, make sure you know the risks and problems that could arise, and make sure you uphold or reflect the organization's values. So if you're choosing a theme party in your life, you could Make sure you have a respectable theme that doesn't insult people, and the cultures being represented adequately and it empowers society. So one way to not do that is to have a slave or date auction. It involves bidding on a human being and it devalues the human being. So because of this, registered student organizations are encouraged to come up with better ideas and not have events. If you are an event planner, every organization should choose an event planner, someone who's experienced within the organization, organized, can handle stressful situations, and are passionate and have a strategic vision. Prohibited student conduct, as we previously described. Don't do it at events for the organization because it can damage, deface, destroy, alter, or don't take property without authorization. It can endanger the health or safety of another student. It can misrepresent the organization, so don't do this. All right, conclusion. Campus resources. If you're in a safety peril situation, you can get wallet cards that have all of this emergency information, contact information, UT police information. You can get specific training resources at the Dean of Students website, or the Student Activities Office, or the Greek Leadership and Intercultural Education Office. Questions, anyone?
That's it.
About risky behavior and how not to do it. All right.
We're passing around some sign-in